Matt, it's been quite a week. The highs of Cambridge and the lows of Barrow. How's the mood been in training this week or in the past couple of days?
We've spent most of it on a coach on Wednesday, and the players haven't been in today, so it's difficult to assess the mood of the group. But that's our league in a nutshell. You go to the top of the table in a game of football, and you play really well and perform really well and get a positive result. And then you go to Barrow on a Tuesday night, and you travel up on a day, and you've not quite got it in you, or we didn't perform well enough to get anything out of that game. And the frustrations and disappointments are there for everyone to see. So it's important that when we travel back on Wednesday, we just had a little regroup as a group of players and staff together. And then they've had a refresher day today where they're not in and hopefully not thinking about football. They've got to come ready to work tomorrow, ready to prepare for what's needed on Saturday. And that might be a totally different game to what we faced on Tuesday. It might be totally different to what we faced against Cambridge the week before. But that's the beauty of our league. And that's the context of our competition. And you can never quite predict what you're going to get. But either way, if you want to be successful, then you've got to overcome these challenges.
I think, you mentioned on Tuesday night there was a few tired legs. It's not just the game, is it? Having done it myself, it's that journey it can really take out of you.
What, the 1-2 Barrow or the one back from Cambridge? I mean, it's a combination, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's a totally different season. The amount of games in such a short space of time and where we are location-wise in the country, obviously the travelling doesn't help. But it's the same for most teams. But the squad is stretched, but also the squad is full of players still finding their way at this level. And whilst they're trying to find their way, we're trying to be successful as well. So it's trying to get the balance, and there's sometimes changes you want to make and don't want to make. You just want as many players able to perform at the best. And sometimes you watch a game of football and you wonder why players aren't quite at the same level they were 3 or 4 days earlier. But you can understand it with the context of the league and also the context of their position in their career of football. And we'll be better for this season. I can guarantee you, no matter what happens at the end of the season, this group of players and certainly the young ones coming through will be better for it because they've experienced something they'll never have to experience again, hopefully, in football in terms of the congestion of fixtures, but also the demands we're putting on them.
On to the game on Saturday then. It seems like for at least the third or fourth time this season, we're going into a game where the side has just changed their manager as they're about to face us. When you're in a relegation battle and you're scrapping, there's no one better than someone that knows the club, and Phil Brown is a really shrewd appointment by Southend, isn't he?
Yeah, vastly experienced, knows the club, and he'll have had a free week to work with that group of players. So difficult one to prepare for, but we're not really preparing in terms of tactical aspects of games at the moment, and not really concentrating too much on the opposition because similar to what we just discussed, there's no time to do that. The players are off today. A Friday is just walk through set pieces and a little bit of shape, and you have to concentrate on yourselves in relation to your own performance, and that's all we'll be doing tomorrow. And our focus will be on how we start the game, how the game pans out in the first 10-15 minutes of a game, a home game at the park, an early kickoff where we want to start the game well and we want to get on top and we want a performance which is similar to what we've had when we've been successful at the park this season. And we know what that's all about, but that will require a little bit of energy, a little bit of intensity, a little bit of forward thinking, and the players really stepping up to the plate in terms of another challenge, a fresh challenge, but also knowing that we're against a team fighting for their lives and an opposition manager who does know that group of players and knows the club inside and out.
You've spoken it earlier on about how important it is to get ahead in the game, get the first goal. Speaking on Tuesday, you said that when Barrow took the lead, we found it very difficult to break them down as they sat behind a lot. Is that first goal so important, basically, so we don't allow teams to do that?
Yeah. Even more so if it's preventable, but teams have got every right to score against you. They've got every right to create against you. The frustration was that we should have prevented that goal on Tuesday night, but it changes the context of what you do at halftime. It changes how you set your team up in relation to the second half, and it alters the way you've got to chase a game. And ultimately, it's the hardest thing to do to try and break an opposition down with bodies behind the ball and defending the box really well. But I've got to be honest, we didn't have the players or the personnel or the structure or the mindset to beat the opposition in that second half on Tuesday. Very rarely did we beat a player 1v1. Very rarely did we beat the Barrow formations or structures with the ball. And physically, we couldn't quite affect it enough as well. So it was disappointing the way that panned out. And it wasn't for the want of trying. We changed shape 2 or 3 times. We had 2 centre forwards on the pitch, 3 centre forwards on the pitch, but the outcome was still the same. And that's something we've got to learn from, because if we do go behind in the next 6 games, we need a real clear plan. And I'm going to give the players as much a simple structure as I possibly can in relation to when that happens. So we're all thinking off the same page. But it also leaves yourself open to counter-attacks. And we conceded the second late on. But ultimately, it just meant that our goal towards the end didn't mean anything.
Just want to quickly look back at that game in Southend earlier on in the season. I mean, they were a side looking for their first win. They almost grabbed it, but I just want to talk about that stunning goal from Alex Fisher again, because it's always nice to look back on that.
Yeah, the left foot swinger. Similar to what we just spoke about, I think we ended that game with 2 or 3 centre forwards on the pitch, desperate to get back in the game. In relation to what that game was, we should have been ahead. We certainly shouldn't have been behind and chasing it. And it's, like I say, it's something we found difficult all season to break a team down when it goes into the later periods of the game. We've not been bad in terms of going behind in the first half and getting straight back into it. But even the goal on Tuesday night was right at the end of that half. So obviously that game's a memorable game in terms of was it a 95th or 96th minute equaliser? Yeah. Something we've not been able to do too often this season, and something we were searching for on Tuesday night. But Saturday will be a totally different game. They've actually got a big squad of players considering where they are in the league table, and there's been a big turnover of players throughout this season, and obviously a change in management as well. So I've mentioned it before, a difficult one to prepare for, but that's no excuses from ourselves. But I'm expecting a different game to what it was a long time ago, earlier on this season.
Finally then, with so much riding on these last 6 games for both ourselves and it seems every single opponent, do you see these as 6 cup finals?
You can describe it any way you want. 6 cup finals, six games, which are the biggest games of our season. 6 games which will determine the outcome of our season. And the less games you've got, the higher the pressure, the bigger the stakes. And we felt that when we went to Cambridge and won on Saturday, and saw their reaction and saw our reaction, and then exactly the same in terms of Barrow on Tuesday. 3 teams, you'd say, fighting for their lives towards the bottom end of the table, and 3 teams above us in the playoffs and automatic position. So the only thing I can say, it's in our hands, and it will be determined to by our performance and the outcome of these results. But they're 6 big games, and if we want to be successful, we have to overcome the adversity and the challenges which we face in these next 6 games, and that starts on Saturday. Like I've said time and time again, if you want to examine what our league is all about, look at our last 2 fixtures and examine why we weren't successful in those last 2 fixtures. But either way, we will be in a better position come the end of the season, because this group of players have just learned so much about each other, but also about themselves in terms of what they've done this season. And some of them have performed really well. We hope there's enough left in their energy levels and the tank, so to speak, to go hard again this weekend. And as soon as Saturday's done, I'll be asking to do the same the following Tuesday and for the remaining 4 games after that.